All right. Will the SEC East finally beat the SEC West?
No. Give it to the Razorbacks.
The Big Vic from Noah Taborda. I still have Georgia.
They have lost so many close games, and it's got to be so frustrating. You know what? I'm picking them here, but I guarantee you they'll find a way to lose this game in the most painful fashion. Just the way that you feel like, oh my God, how did we lose that game? Example A, they're getting blocked / missing an extra point.
Alrighty. The side note to that Alabama game, where they lost because they had an extra point blocked. Alright. Michigan State versus Indiana. That's all I'm going to say about the game. Michigan State wins. Noah?
Yeah, I think that was an appropriate statement. Michigan State versus Indiana, there's my pick.
There you go. Noah is picking the game to win, which is odd because it's not a very good game. Then we have one of the better matchups of the entire week. At Texas A&M 5-2 with 2 losses to Mississippi team. Alabama 5-1 with 1 loss to Mississippi team. The question is, which team that lost to Mississippi will do better in this game? Alabama has been awful lately, and you know what? For that reason, I'm going to pick Kenny Hill ends the Texas A&M Aggies.
Yeah, this section has gone well for us because we actually have had some different picks. They're going into Bryant-Denny Stadium. Bear Bryant would be rolling in his grave if they lose this game. Alabama steps up. The 6th best defense in the country shuts down Kenny Hill. And Blake Sims wins a game.
Wow, I feel like we've been different on like half of the good games. It's amazing. I know we're going to be different at least once more before we close out. All right, I think I actually skipped them technically again. Oregon versus Washington, because they keep going to the top of my page, and it's starting to annoy me. Oregon has beaten Washington now 10 times in a row by 17 points and more, and they are taunting them with their uniforms this time. I'm wondering if they're going to get flagged for taunting, quite honestly. They're using a throwback uniforms from when we beat Washington, and it basically kickstarted our program into what it is today. Yes, Kenny Wheaton, you are my hero. Oregon over Washington. Last year I said, the streak is going to end. We're not going to be with them by 17. I'm picking them by more than 17 this year. Oregon over Washington.
You know what? First quarter, Washington comes out angry. They see those jerseys. They want to hit some people. Shaq Thompson, 2 sacks in the first quarter. And then they don't do quite as well. Oregon runs up the table. They win by 27 points. Oregon wins the game.
27 exactly is Noah's call. The line is 21, we should know. All right, we have 3 more games to go, and only one of them is a good game. Mississippi State is off this week, as we should note. Ole Miss versus Tennessee, Baylor, West Virginia. Baylor, West Virginia could be tricky. Do you have Clint Trickett pulling the upset, or do you have the Baylor Bears?
No, I think Baylor wins it again, but once again, Bryce Petty has to do that little speech where he says, if we play our best and we play Baylor football, nobody can beat us, except for the fact that they almost get beaten by West Virginia. And suddenly everybody realizes, wait, does Bryce Petty actually realize that he almost lost to a team that actually isn't in the top 25?
But they only lost to TCU. Almost lost to TCU.
That's almost lost to TCU.
Who's a top 10 team according to you, if I am correct.
Yes.
So, you're not really, oh boy. Oh boy, Noah contradicting himself. Oh, how sad.
No, West Virginia though, not top 25.
They're not, alright, we'll see how they do versus West Virginia. I think it's funny though, because whenever Bryce Petty ends interviews, he always says ma'am to the person he's interviewing. I really want to see if it's a man, actually, instead of a woman, if he accidentally says ma'am, because he's just so used to it. Then we got Tennessee, Ole Miss. I'm not expecting anything special out of Tennessee today. Ole Miss wins over Tennessee and keeps perfect and is 7-0 at that point.
Yay, agreed.
All right, the final game for our entire show. Oh, tears. It's been a great first show on Infinity Sports Network. This was previously a show on National Sports Network. Go check them out. They're also on Spreaker. Florida State, Notre Dame. Those are the 2 options. Notre Dame is 5. Their highest ranking since they were previously number 1 just 2 years ago with Everett Golson before he decided to apparently fail some test or cheat on a test. I forget exactly what it was. And then there's Florida State with Jameis Winston currently being investigated. We're not even sure if he's going to play. Do I get to make 2 picks with or without Jameis, or do I just have to guess?
Play with Jameis. Do it with Jameis.
All right, our with Jameis picks it is. I'm going to start with you, Noah, and I believe I know what your pick is, but tell us.
Notre Dame. Baby, Everett Golston. It's going to be fun. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish will knock off the Florida State Seminoles, a loss they need to win this year. If they go undefeated through the regular season, they will lose in the playoff because you know what? This team needs a reminder that they are not God. And I think going from number 1 to number 2 is already showing them that, but Notre Dame will rub it in. They will be the spark that drives Florida State through the end of the year. They will be what makes Florida State say, never again. But this time, it's the Fighting Irish celebrating in South Bend, Indiana. Notre Dame over Florida State by 3.
See, I disagree, personally.
I know.
With Jameis Winston playing, I think the problem is that Jameis Winston is still an incredibly electric player. And while Everett Golston is good, yes, I've already talked about how I was impressed by Everett Golston's stats. They barely beat Stanford. And the fact is, and yes, Stanford has a crazy better defense, but they barely beat UNC. And I think that Florida State's got a better defense, and I think that Florida State is a good defense, a very good defense, and I think with Jameis, the fact is they would have beat Clemson by more than overtime. They would have beaten them probably somewhat handily. I take Florida State. I may not like Jameis Winston that much as a person anymore because he seems like he always screws up, but I still like Florida State in this game. Yeah, that's my pick. Noah, your rebuttal.
Can I mention one thing? Interestingly enough, Notre Dame has the 8th best defense statistically in the...
I saw that. They allow 17.2 points per game.
That's actually ridiculous.
Yeah, but you realize it was much lower than that until they got 43 put on them by North Carolina.
If the transitive property applies, with Syracuse winning by... Notre Dame only winning by 16 against Syracuse, then Florida State would technically win by 2.
Yeah,
but both of them did kind of badly against Syracuse, which leads me to believe Syracuse is everybody's kryptonite, except for they don't actually lose against them. They just don't play.
By the way, North Carolina put up, North Carolina is their offense. Before that, their high total was 40. Yeah, that was, no, except against Liberty. The only team that they scored more on against was Liberty. While I may love Marquise Williams, that does not matter. I'm sorry, but I think that Notre Dame's defense against any real offense, this is the first real offense they're going to play, and they will lose to this real offense.
Kevin Hogan doesn't like that.
Kevin Hogan, we should make that a meme. Kevin Hogan, yeah, that's a thing now. You know what? That brings us to the end of this show. 68 minutes is our time at the moment. Probably 69 by the time I end this rant. Go like the page on Facebook, College Football on Air. Go like Infinity Sports Network on Facebook. And go like Noah Taborda on Facebook, because he actually has a Facebook page, as well as following both of us on Twitter. Noah, at Noah Taborda. Carl, at Carl_PM. It's with a K, not a C. It's KARL_PM, with the at symbol before that. All right, that is most of the time we have for you tonight, except for the final 2 seconds I'm going to do before we leave. It's been great talking to you. Can't wait for this weekend of college football, and can't wait for basically every weekend of college football. You know what? We're nearing you know what? The countdown to the Egg Bowl continues. So until then, toodles, good night, and every other cheesy catchphrase I can say. It's been an honor broadcasting to you, and I will see you some point next week, except I won't see you because I'm talking to you.